Good day to all of you. You are tuning into Lawtify, a MMU SIG Law podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Multimedia University's Special Interest Group Meeting. Once again, thank you for tuning into Lawtify. My name is Venka.
And my name is Divya.
And we'll be your host over the course of this episode. On this session, we'll be discussing with our dear alumni on their 4-year journey in law school. Today with us, we have Ms. Reyna and Mr. Irfan Husin Rosli. Hi, Ms. Reyna. Hi, Mr. Irfan.
Hi, hello.
Thank you very much for taking up your time from your busy schedules and being our host for this episode.
All right, before we start our session today, this is actually our 4th episode. How do you feel about being a guest here tonight?
Hi, everyone. And thank you to SIG for inviting me and Reyna for tonight, for episode 4, I believe. It's wonderful to have SIG, to have the initiative to have something that is totally different, which is to utilize the online Spotify, especially when currently I believe it's still hard to do physical events, physical seminars and whatnot. So the idea of utilizing podcasts on Spotify is amazing. So thank you again.
Yeah, I think it's a really great effort. I think SIG has come a long way and it's a great initiative that has never been done, just a few years back. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Right, thank you, Ms. Reyna. And I also have to ask, if given the opportunity, would you turn back in time and be a law student once again? Ms. Reyna, maybe you can go first.
Honestly, no. Because, don't get me wrong, law school is fun, but I'm just happy that I'm done with that chapter of my life because I do not look forward to taking exams and memorizing tons of case laws just for that, 3 hours. So the short answer will be no, but I do miss, other parts of it, the other elements, the friends, all that. Yeah.
How about you, Mr. Irfan?
Well, contrary to what Reyna has in her opinion, I would say that yes, I would go back to law school because I think school days actually happier, actually you have more freedom, and you have friends you can meet every day. You are free to do a lot of things, but of course, don't get me wrong, legal career, you still also have free times and a lot of other happy things that in school or university that you will not have.
Thank you, Mr. Irfan, Ms. Reyna. I do have to agree with Ms. Reyna on the 3 hours thing. All right. Before we get started, just a small intro in regards to our guest tonight. Ms. Reyna is currently a pupil in Chambers, while Mr. Irfan is a dispute resolution lawyer. And fun fact, both of them are proud alumni of MMU, and both of them are currently at Zulrafiq and Partners. Now, Mr. Irfan, why law as a profession? Why not accounting or engineering or finance, perhaps?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, my childhood dream is actually to become a pilot, but due to financial issues, I have to let it go for a while. Although it's still part of my dream to have an airplane pilot license. But I think due to the fact that I love to read history, I love to read factual things. So then I think that to study in law is a good choice. And from there, I developed my interest and passion. And here I am today, being a lawyer.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Irfan. How about you, Ms. Reyna?
Well, I can't do math, so I decided to pursue the legal profession. I think, that is a lot of other lawyers' reasons as well. But no, I'm just joking. So after SPM, I didn't know what to do. And I started watching this legal series. Have you heard of Law and Order?
Yes.
Yeah, so I started watching that and I was like, oh, it's really cool to be because it's a US series. So for them, it's a district attorney, but in Malaysia, it's a DPP, right? Deputy Public Prosecutor. So then I thought it would be cool to be that. So I decided to pursue law. So you can say I was duped into it, only to realize that the Malaysian legal system is very different from the legal system in the US. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. So I'm okay.
So I think
Um,
both of us. Actually never had lawyer as our first dream.
Yeah, that's right.
I do have to agree on Miss Reyna about the not really liking maths part. I do agree to it. Now, to start our segment, sharing session with alumni titled The Secret of Success by our alumni, we would like to ask some questions regarding your past at NMU and how you think what you did in the past actually helped you to be successful right now.
and yes, and then Ms. Reyna, we both know that both you have excelled well in your academics as well as other activities such as mooting. Now, we would like to ask, how did you actually manage your time?
Well, for me, honestly, in the beginning, it was a bit of a struggle because you're suddenly learning to juggle two things at once. But what I've learned in the past is to prioritize your deadlines. So to me, studies will always come first. So if you have conflicting deadlines, you should prioritize your studies. And that isn't to say that you don't have to put in effort into your mood preparation, etc. But unfortunately, if you're taking up mooting, it also means that you might have to sacrifice some of your weekends or your leisure time to prepare for your moot, especially since it requires a lot of research and training. But I do think that you can always do, your moot preps on weekends or at night or after you've completed your academic related assignments. So personally, that's how I learned to juggle it, is to prioritize my deadlines. And to me, studies was, always in the forefront.
Yes, well said, Ms. Reyna. How about you, Mr. Irfan?
Yes, I would agree with Reyna on basically three things. First of all, always prioritize your academic. The reason why you are at law school is because you want to read law. But of course, at the same time, it's equally important to excel in curricular activities such as mooting, debate, because that would prepare you, especially in terms of advocacy skills that you need in the legal fraternity. But always prioritize your academic. And in order to prioritize your academic, I think it's important to always plan ahead. So, for example, in MMU, we have long trimester, we have short trimester, just like other universities. To all our listeners in the Spotify from other universities, they also have semesters, and we have 14 weeks and whatnot. And the structure is almost the same. Is that at the beginning of the first 2 weeks, you will already know how to plan your semester. Like, for instance, by certain week, you would have midterm exams. By certain week, you would have you would be busy with assignments and whatnot, so and then in the same time you would already know what are the competitions coming up that you want to join, not just mooting or debate, but also if you are a person who like to do sports or other hobbies, good, that's great. So you would know already when the competition would be there, would be organized, so you can plan ahead. And then last but not least, I think best reminder to everyone, also to myself, is that always take one at a time, one thing at a time. Then you can juggle things better. Then you can manage your time equally for your academic as well as your curricular activities.
All right, thank you, Mr. Irfan.
I have a question for Miss Reyna. Other than balancing your time, what other tips or secrets would you share with our listeners today behind your achievement?
Well, I wouldn't really call it a secret, but to me, aside from time management, which of course I think is important, but I think another thing that is really underrated that people don't talk about enough is having a very strong support system. Because if, for example, if you find a group of good assignment mates, stick with them throughout, the 4 years, if they're reliable people. And if you find a bunch of friends that will, share their knowledge with you and have study sessions with you and share their notes with you, you should stick with them. If you find friends that will be there for you when you're stressed out or when you're down, you should stick with them. So for me personally, I think I couldn't have done it without a strong support system, especially when, you're taking up many things at once. It's inevitable that sometimes your deadlines would clash and you would have to attend a moot competition instead of attending your classes. So that's when your really strong support system becomes pivotal. You have to check with your friends on, hey, what was said in class today, anything that I missed out. Your good friends would also alert you as to the deadlines that are coming. So to me, I think a strong support system is what really, really helped me. There were so many times where I couldn't cope and I just, sought help, and they were there to help me. So that's really important as well.
Mhm. I do agree with that, actually. I think a strong support system is indeed an important factor in behind all this achievement. Now, Mr. Irfan, how would you recommend young lawyers to participate actively in legal associates such as the Bar Subcommittee and the AIAC Young Practitioners Group?
I would highly recommend it. Of course, I myself also trying to get involved as active as I could, although I'm not that active yet at the moment. But I would highly recommend it because bar as subcommittees, be it regardless it's a state level or the Malaysian bar subcommittees, it's important because it has proper channels for everyone to voice out, for us to find ways to improve any loopholes or problems that we as lawyers are facing. That's one. Second, it's also a good way for us to build friendship with other lawyers from different law firms, from different states, where we can share ideas, where we can discuss things, where we can gather more information and knowledge as well. So it's important to be active and get involved in other in associations, which I believe there are a lot of employers out there who actually recommend their employees, who support their employees to join and become active, not just become a subcommittee, but also committees itself.
Yes. And right now, Mr. Irfan and Ms. Reyna, both of you have successfully become lawyers. Now, can you give us the few challenges that you might face on a daily basis as a lawyer, Ms. Reyna? Perhaps you could share an insight on this.
Hi, yeah, sure. So for me, I think the biggest challenge is not having enough time in a day, because I'm actually in the employment department right now. And this also means that I get to do both advisory work and contentious work, which is going to court, etc. So you really have to learn to balance both. And the thing about advisory work is that you work on clients' deadlines. So sometimes they need a piece of legal opinion or a contract drafted urgently. So then you would have to learn to, take it as it comes, because sometimes it can be very pressing and you can get overwhelmed. And with litigation cases, your time is dictated by the deadlines set by the court. So when you have many cases pending, you really have to learn to juggle your time and to get your deadlines right, so you don't mix them up or you don't miss a deadline. And another challenge is really with clients, because sometimes the clients will email you or call you on weekends. It's either they have urgent matters that require your attention, or they simply have no boundaries. So you've really got to learn to set that boundary and evaluate whether a matter is pressing enough that you should attend to it over the weekend, or if it's something that can wait, then you can always wait until Monday to attend to it. So I guess the biggest challenge for me is not having enough time in a day, because there's like a million things to do. Yeah.
How about you, Mr. Irfan?
On daily challenges that I face on daily basis?
Yes.
First of all, disclaimer here, I have not become a successful lawyer yet. I'm still learning. I'm still struggling my way up. But to answer your question on challenges that I face on a daily basis as a lawyer, I would say I share the same views with Reyna. It's about time management challenge. We have schedule every day what we want to do or what are the work that we need to prioritize, but sometimes there are interruptions in between. Interruptions which we have to accept. For example, calls or emails on questions by our clients, as well as new matters suddenly appear, or like in myself, I'm a practicing civil litigation lawyer. So of course, suddenly the opponent file an interlocutory application out of nowhere, or suddenly our client got served with summons. So these kind of things need skills we need skills to improve and manage our time in ordinary manner, so that our works are not delayed so that we can do our works in a timely manner. And I think the second challenge would be, as a junior lawyer in my third year practicing, I would say it's the steep learning curve. Almost every day there are new things, almost every single day, new things. And these are the main challenges that as young lawyer, I have to face every day, but I take it up as a good challenge to improve myself as well.
Thank you for that insight, Mr. Irfan. Now I would like to ask a question from an article by the Balanced Career. Today's lawyers have been forced to settle for less than ideal employment or to change careers altogether because of how competitive the profession is. Hence, I would like to ask your modest opinion on this issue of employment when it comes to lawyers. Ms. Reyna, maybe you can.
Okay, yeah, I think this issue is very real, especially for young lawyers when you're just starting out and you don't have enough experience, you don't have your own clientele, you basically have no bargaining power because law graduates nowadays are a dime a dozen. So law firms can be very picky about who they want to choose. They can be very picky about how much they want to pay you. But I think this struggle is very real because you're very young. So in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, as you get more senior and you have more experience, there is still very much a market for you out there, especially if you specialize in a field. So once you've made a name for yourself, that's when the money and the clients start coming in. So if you want to stay in the legal practice, you have to be determined and to survive the first few years of legal practice. And it's always tough before it gets better. So I think the best advice right now is just to sort of just weather it. As in when you're young, you have no choice. So you take what you can get if, being in the legal industry is what you're truly passionate about. And if you can stick with it, then I'm sure better days will come. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Reyna, about your modest opinion on this matter. How about you, Mr. Irfan?
I would say that this kind of issue is actually not just in legal fraternity, but it also involves at other careers as well, especially during this pandemic situation. But as what Reyna said, we have to be prepared that these are the challenges. We have to accept it. The earlier we accept the fact that it is challenging, as I said earlier, that the first 3 years being a junior lawyer, it's a steep learning curve. So the faster you accept the fact that it is a steep learning curve, then it will be easier for yourself, and eventually it will be better sooner or later.
Thank you, Mr. Irfan. Now that will be our final question, which wraps up this 4th episode of Lotify. Thank you once again, Mr. Irfan Husin and Ms. Reyna, for your crucial time and advice. To our beloved listeners, kindly follow our Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates. Be sure to check out our upcoming episodes where we dive into more compelling matters and other distinguished guests. Till next time, stay safe, everyone.